A very warm welcome to all of you. It's always very exciting to meet our prospective students, and we really hope that we will meet face to face here later in August or beginning of September. My name is Liselott Alden, and I'm the program director for this master program in Wind Power Project Management. And with me, I have my colleague here.
I'm Albors Sadeghi, the teaching assistant of the program, and very happy to see you all.
And we will start with a short presentation, an overview of the program and some other important parts. And after that, we will open up to questions, which I hope you have. So please, Albors, if you get started.
Yeah, sure. I have to hug this microphone like
Yes.
this. Our first thing will be about Uppsala University and Campus Gotland. So Uppsala University is the first Nordic university founded in 1477. And 8 scientists at this university have been awarded with Nobel Prize, ranked among top 100 universities in the world, and more than 50,000 students, more than 1,500 international students.
Yes.
And says on 1st of July 2013, Uppsala University merged with Gotland University, and the result was Campus Gotland, the youngest campus of.
Yeah, and I could just add here that here, on Campus Gotland, where we are, is actually on Gotland, which is a big island in the Baltic Sea. So we are quite far from main campus in Uppsala. And here we have about 2,000 students and about 200-300 staff. So we are quite a small campus.
But very good thing about like being a small campus is that it's a quite flat hierarchy, and everyone are open to like answer your questions. You will be like free to drop in their offices, and everyone is accessible here. So that's a very positive thing in my eyes. But let's move on and talk about Visby, a Swedish fairy tale town. So Gotland is the largest island in Sweden, as Liselott mentioned. The town of Visby dates back to 12th century. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's unbelievable, and it's like a dream to live in the city, I would say.
Yeah, the town itself is a Hansa city, which is a time where there was a lot of trade on the sea to Germany, to the Baltic states, and then Sweden and Finland. And we all share the Baltic Sea. And we have a lot of buildings from that time. And as Albert was saying, the old town of Visby is spectacular, I would say. I have had some friends who said, well, we like the old town in Stockholm, but we prefer the old town in Visby. But, it is your own taste, but it's a very nice place. And the campus is located, as you see on the pictures, in the harbor. So we're standing in a lecture hall, and we can see out, on the sea.
Yes. Okay, let's now move on to the program itself, Wind Power Project Management in brief. So we have 1-year program started from 2010. We have 2-year program, which was introduced in 2018. And we had more than 200 students successfully graduated. Many students have key positions in wind industry now. Is there anything else?
Yeah, that's very true. We invite alumni, our graduates, to come back and to give guest lectures. And when we go to conferences and so on, I always meet previous students and graduates. And we have a really good network. So, yes, many students have key positions in the industry.
And also something that I can add is that the program has a very great alumni network, and it can help later on when you are looking for a job or position. This alumni network can be very helpful.
It does, yes.
And about student experience, so Gotland is one of the main locations for sustainability in Sweden, right?
Yes. So we have been a pilot demonstration place. As being an island, it's a natural frame of how can one survive sustainably and have a lot of renewable energy. And we do find that a lot of students come to the program and their motivation is that they want to get into the renewable energy field, which many has been very successful.
Yeah, and next point is it's vibrant student life and close student community. So from my experience, we have a small student community here, and people are very close together here. You have an island to explore, and you have different options to like go to trekking and go to camping. It's very wonderful.
Yeah,
Quite different from mainland.
yeah, it is different. And on the island, you can experience a lot of different landscapes, and also it's in a historical place. So you can find different historical parts as well as the nature is remarkable in some of the places. So you can explore for 2 years and still have a lot more to explore. I've lived here for more than 20 years, probably coming up for 25, and I still find new spots.
Yeah, yeah. You have a lot of things to explore here, and I haven't been like exploring that much. And the experience of living in a heritage site, from my experience, it's wonderful. I used to live in a student dormitory outside of the old city for a while, but when I changed my place, I got an apartment in the old city. It's quite an experience. I can't explain that. You have to experience it yourself. And the last point is like flat hierarchy that I talked about it. When you have a small campus, you have everybody like accessible and
Yeah, I think that the flat hierarchy is quite common for Sweden in general, but
okay.
then if you have few people, we get to know each other.
Yeah.
So we bump into each other, going to the cafeteria, going somewhere to a lecture hall, and we stop and exchange what we need to do, and it's not a big deal. So it's kind of a small size way of interacting. But generally speaking, we could say about the staff here is that we are very approachable. You can approach us when we're teaching. So, before lectures, between, when we have breaks, and after, and also, come around to our offices and see if we are free. And, it's casual, one could say.
Yeah, and it was very different from my prior experience in Iran. So it's very interesting. Let's talk about energy transition, Lisa.
Yes. So why would you like to take a program like this? Well, we see it as you can be an instrument to make the energy transition.
We have a message that says they can't hear our voice. Can you confirm that you can hear our voice now?
So we were talking about the energy transition, which is very well needed everywhere. We have the challenge of climate change, where energy is an essential part. And if we can change into renewables, we will emit less carbon, dioxide or greenhouse gases. So we see that this master will give you a way to actually work with this energy transition. And we really need people who can make this happen. It's also very nice to go to work and feel that I'm contributing to something that I think is necessary.
Yep.
So these slides show a little bit of the trends, both for energy transition and the need for wind power, which is an essential part of going towards renewable energy. And it provides a lot of jobs. And we see it on the job market. I think it's never been as hot as it is right now during the 25 years that I've been into this field. So you are entering this at a good time. Job market, how long did it take to find a job for our students? As you can see here, about a quarter of our students found jobs already during the studies. Almost another quarter within less of a month. So half of the students have a job within a month. And almost the other half in less than 6 months. We have a little share there of 7%, which took longer than 6 months. That's very good figures.
And these are the roles that you can have in the job market.
Yeah. Well, these are examples from our students. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like almost half of our students are working as project managers, developers, 30% as engineers. We have like small shares, like 2% in PhD, 2% in academic positions, other kind of academic positions, 1% in finance, but I mean, also 11% in consultant. So,
so this is, the students we have had, but this, it varies depending on what kind of background you have when you're coming in and what your interest is. It's a wide choice of positions that you can actually go for when you complete your degree here.
yeah, and I love the fact that this program gives you the freedom to concentrate on what you want to work with.
Yes.
Also with, we are going to talk about program layout, and we are going to talk about the specializations further on. But these specializations can help you a lot in selecting your future role. So this is the layout of the program, or 1-year version of it, or Magistra program.
Yes.
So I'm not going to talk about each course here, but the important thing is you will have a degree project, a thesis of 15 credit in second half of a spring.
So right now, our first, people doing the 1-year program they're working on the thesis and will defend it end of May or beginning of June, but end of May this year.
Yeah.
And one question that we normally get is, can you change between the 1 and the 2-year program? And the 1 and the 2-year program are the same courses until March. But you need, in the first term, until 1st of December, you can change between the 2 programs. But after that, we need to be able to plan.
Yeah. But I mean, the answer is yes.
Yes, you can change.
Yes.
Within the time limit. Yeah.
Until Christmas, right?
No, it's first of December.
Or 1st of December. So
yes.
They will have enough time to decide. Yeah. And 2-year version, the 2-year program, as you can see, until like first half of spring, the courses are the same. But in the second half of spring semester, you will have 2 courses, scientific methods and trends, and then you will go for the 2nd year. And in the 2nd year, you will have 5 options in autumn, second half of autumn. 4 of them are specializations, and 1 of them is a 45 credit thesis. But talking about the specializations, the first one is professional training in wind power project management, which is simply the internship.
Yes. So we have connections with a number of companies here in Sweden. And you go for an internship. You will be at least 3 weeks, but up to 8 weeks at a company. For the entire time, you will get tasks from the company. And there are different kinds of companies, and we try to match your interest in the best way we will. I think this specialization works both that you get out and see what happens in the workplace. You get a feel for different topics, different organizations, and you can feel what kind of job role would I actually like? What is my preference? And what students report is that they also find that they already know a lot, that they can contribute with the knowledge that they've gained during their studies. You did this specialization. What was your experience?
Okay, one thing that was very good about this specialization was that university is paying 70% of your expenses there. So that's the point. And also I loved it because it gave me the opportunity to see what's it look like, the working environment in Sweden. I didn't have any experience working in a company in Sweden. So it gave me the opportunity to see what's actually happening. And the good thing is usually you tell university what sectors you are interested in, and they will find you a company which is doing the same things. So I said I like project management and those kind of things, and the university put me in a company in an office of that company that was concentrating on just project management, and it was very great. So let's go to the next specialization, planning for wind energy.
Yes. So this is to go further in. We have a first course, which is also planning for wind energy. And here we go further into the subject, and we look at different planning regimes. So on international, national, and regional and local level. We look particularly into acceptance of wind power. We make some observations. And you will also have a larger project work in this. Okay. And I can say about the planning course, it's Professor Johan Köppel who teaches that.
Okay, and the next one is wind resource assessment. So this one is being taught by Professor Esteban Ivanel, the head
Yes.
of department.
Yes, so you will go further into the wind resource assessment, measuring methods, both in a theoretical and practical, together with more in-depth modeling of wind resource assessment.
But I think it's all about CFD, like fluid dynamics, aerodynamics.
Well, there are, some of those, at least on the theoretical, but there are more of those modeling tools
Yeah.
that you will use.
So people who are like very interested in engineering part and technical part, this is the specialization they can choose.
Yeah, and we could say also that our department has a lot of research within this area.
Yeah, most of PhD positions are in this area.
Yeah, quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and the next one is multi-criteria decision analysis, MCDA.
Yes. So this is a particular method we use how one can do a decision analysis. And again, we have Professor Heracles Palatidis. Yeah, I don't use his surname so often. And he has been doing research in this field for 20 plus years, and you apply this to different situations, and we just a couple of weeks ago, one PhD student defended his thesis within this area. But you will learn more about the methods, because there is not just one, there is a bundle of them that you will use, and you will also apply it on a problem.
Yeah. And then after like studying one of the specializations, you can go for the thesis, 30 credit thesis.
Which is a term, yeah. So the last spring term you would do a thesis.
Yeah. So let's move on. Some statistics about the country of origin and country of employment of our students.
Yes, so you can see here that we have a little bit 10% of Swedes, and then, Indians, Germans, Greek, Turkey, lots of different ones. And it's normally that we have maybe 12, 15, 20 different nationalities in the class. So it's dynamic, and we also have different backgrounds. So as a teacher, it's an exciting classroom, and I think it is.
As a student, definitely it is, because you will have a lot of group works, group activities, and like working with people from different countries and different professional and academic backgrounds. It's a very exceptional experience.
So we try to use your previous knowledge, the knowledge that you already gain from your bachelor degree, and also what you learned through the time when you were growing up, living somewhere, and so on. And we try to put that into the classroom and work with that, and use the knowledge that is already here.
Okay, great. And country of employment, you can see that 1/3 of our students are working in Sweden, 11% in Germany and other European countries, as you can see. Also, let's talk about exchange opportunities.
Yes. So if you do the 2-year program, the third term is a term that some students choose to do an exchange program or opportunity. So right now, we have one student in Japan. Next fall, I know that we will have one in the States and one in China. and maybe a third in Norway. So there are plenty of agreements. Yeah, and if that's something you're interested in, it's possible to pursue.
And about housing. So 15th of April, there will be a webinar for housing, but let's just talk a little bit about housing. So we have guaranteed accommodation for fee-paying students. There will be student dormitories, and there will be like fees between 3,500 krona to 5,000 krona, which is very good. Everything is included. I have the experience living in a student dormitory, Wi-Fi, heating, electricity, everything is included. And most, like 99% of times, you have the accommodation also during summer, which is very good for Visby.
Yeah, that's not so common with the private accommodation. Then you have it term time.
Yeah.
This being an island where there's a lot of tourists coming in the summer, private landlords use their flats and accommodation to lend out to tourists and get a lot more pay.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah, and also for non-fee paying students, there are a lot of options. Rindy, Facebook, and Boostad. So let me just share the links in the chat for those who are interested.
I know that as prospective students, you get some information sent from Central Uppsala University about all different kinds of topics, both written information, but also invitations to webinars. And as we say here, the 15th of April, there is a housing webinar that you can join.
Okay, and what do we have left?
So this is welcoming activities. So we actually start the program on the 2nd of September. And but the 28th and 29th of August, there will be some shuttle services from the airport and the ferry terminal for certain arrivals, and you have to register beforehand. So, but you will get information around that. On the 30th of August, there is an orientation day, which is on campus, half day. So you will get a lot more information and you walk around the campus and so on.
Let me just tell you something about my experience. I received the invoice like 2 years ago when I was like admitted to the program. I received the invoice for university, and I didn't pay it like until 1 month after it. And so my experience was that I had to go through that long queue in Migrationsverket. I don't want you to be like that. So please, if you can, just pay the tuition fee as soon as possible and start the application process, start the visa process, because it will be crowded 1 month from now.
And we know that sometimes there is a problem to get times for interviews. So, you're going to need to have an interview, and then you have to do the interview, and then there needs to be a decision, and then you need to get your something about your entry card and so on.
Yeah. And there is one question that how long we can wait for people who have delays in their visa process?
Yes. So the first 2 weeks we normally can try to, get But then you might need to participate online. But after that, so much happens. So it's very hard for you to join.
Yeah.
But we'll keep in touch and we do what we can to support you coming. But at some stage, we have to close because otherwise you miss too much.
Yeah, but we always try to help and see what happens. So as you can see, you can scan that QR code for our social media, our YouTube channel. You can see all the activities what is going on in the program in YouTube channel and also in our on our LinkedIn page. Is there anything else you want to add, or we have to answer the questions? If
Yes.
feel free to just ask questions in the chat and we can
Or
answer.
you can just talk as well.
Yeah.
I have one question. As a student from Europe, can you mention anything that I need to take into consideration? Because I think we don't need to pay anything,
No,
but
you
we
don't
do
need to pay. So you are lucky in that way. You can arrive here. You have a visa. You can move around. So, but housing is still good for you to have a look around. And Rindy, or there was have a page where you can find suggestions, but you can also search in other places where you normally search for accommodation. I think in the term times, it's normally possible to find, but sometimes you might want to have something short term, get here and look around. It depends.
Yeah, thank you.
More questions?
It says, as for the 1-year program, is it allowed to do an internship instead of
Of the master
thesis?
No. To complete the degree, you have to do the master thesis. However, it is possible to apply for internships afterwards, but we don't have a course as such. There is an Erasmus internship program that one could look for, that you can do before you taken out your degree. But the university will not arrange an internship that for you. That's only available in the 2-year program. More questions?
Are the dormitory accommodations single occupancy, or can we expect to have roommates? So as far as I know, you can talk with the accommodation office. If you have a partner and your partner is a student, they can sort it out. So you both can stay in one room. But it's in the rules that your partner also or your roommate should be a student.
Yeah, normally we don't have dormitories where you are expected to share with people you don't know. I haven't heard of any accommodation like that. You normally have a single room, but you share, cooking facilities.
There will be a common kitchen in every floor, but you will have your own small kitchen and bathroom. So yeah, that's it about student accommodations. When is the master thesis part taking place?
If you want to take the 1-year program, it is mid-March to first week of June normally. If you do the 30 credit, the 2-year program, it is from mid-January until the same time, 1 week into June. Any more questions?
Okay, you can also send your questions to our WhatsApp and our email. I am constantly checking them, trying to answer everyone. But if there are no more questions, we can
I think
wrap up.
so. What is the benefit of the 2-year course over the 1 year? I would say, but you can fill in afterwards. You have much more time to go further in to have a deeper knowledge. And you have the specialization course, so you can choose, and you can do a larger thesis work.
Yes. So 2-year program also can pave the way for a PhD position.
Yes, it does.
You will have like bigger thesis, 30 credit or 45 credit thesis instead of 15 credit. You have specializations. I mean, first year program is very nice because you have the feasibility course, feasibility study course, which is a precise simulation of what is happening in the industry right now for project development. But after that, you can choose one specialization and go more in depth in wind industry.
Yeah. We could say what we generally recommend is that if you have work experience, longer work experience in a neighboring field and want to change the field into renewables, let's say you've been working in the oil and gas industry, for example, then a 1-year program could be sufficient. But if you are new to the area, to the energy field and so on, we normally recommend a 2-year program because you will learn a lot more and you will have more time to go into the different parts in a totally different way than you will have with the 1-year program.
Okay, and next question is, how is the class arrangements for the week?
We have quite a lot of teaching activities. It varies from course to course, but I would say that you have lectures, and we do have quite a lot of seminars, and we have group work, and so on. We have quite student interactive teaching methods. So I would say that what could I say? You are at campus most of the days. Sometimes you have half the day, or you do 10 to 12 and 1 to 3. And sometimes maybe you do 6 hours and then you have less or not, sometimes a day without. But it's a pretty intense studies, I think.
Yeah, I would say that's true. But I mean, you won't feel it, believe me, because you will have a lot of things to do. You won't feel how time flies.
Most of our students, very, very few complaints or that it is a lot of work. Most students are very pleased that they got to learn so much.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything is practical. You have like experience to learn from experts. Also, for example, we have a course, Trends in Wind Industry, that most of the lectures are guest lectures from industry, from companies that are working in wind industry. So I would say you have to use this opportunity to learn as much as you can. This is the one exceptional program, I would say, in the world that have this kind of settings.
Yeah.
Gives you this opportunity.
So we try to give you the theoretical understanding, but also the applications that you have. And it's such a dynamic field. It changes very rapidly. Therefore, we have this input from the industry representatives to kind of put your ear to the ground and see what's happening right now.
You can also check our podcast with these guest lecturers on our YouTube, and they all talk about our program as a program that is very unique. So, and it will help you a lot finding position in the industry. Do we have any other question? No.
I could say a little bit about the, teaching methods and so on. We require students to be self-sufficient, to take responsibility over one's studies, and already act as a project manager for one's studies. I think this is generally kind of Swedish study system, but and this is a master program, so we expect that you take your studies and work with them. So of course you need to learn some basic knowledge about different things, but from that you use your knowledge and apply it to something, to a problem, to, problem solving in some kind of way. And, teachers, we find ourselves as our role is a support to the student and to the student's learning activities. But we will not give you a long list of checklists, do this A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you're finished. You need some of that, but most of it you have to work, create solutions and so on. And we hope that you like that.
Very much. Are group assignments frequent, or is work mostly individual?
There are individual assignments, but there are also a fair amount of group assignments. We also find that it is important to learn how to work in a team and how to use each other's skills and knowledge in the best possible way. And we have one course, which is a project course where you do a feasibility study for a wind farm, where you work in a group. So we think it is very useful. So a mixture, both these two.
You will have group projects and also individual projects. But I prefer like group projects because it's more challenging, but you will learn also more when you're working with a group. Questions?
And I think, I don't know if you already, no, I don't think you have, you will offer the possibility of individual calls if you have specific questions or want to discuss some parts.
Yeah, I have had Zoom calls with most of you people, but just feel free. We can have it again, or if it's your first time, we can have Zoom calls. We can have like WhatsApp calls, whatever works for you. I'm ready to answer your questions and talk about student life and everything that you might have questions about.
And if you are particularly interested to hear one of our current students, if they come from the same country or something, their experience, we try to find we try to find somebody that would be able to answer your questions.
Yeah. One question says, how many applications were received and how many students were accepted this year?
So we have two rounds. So in the international round, I think it was about 200 applicants, and I think we have
53.
Yeah, 53.
53 admitted people.
Yes.
And it says, as far as I know, we have
More than 120, yes. I think it was close to 200.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Tomek. I come from the UK. I am an economics graduate, but I want to change the industry and career. I also hope to explore entrepreneurial
path with this course. Yeah, I think definitely if you are interested to change, into the renewable energy industry, this is a very good program. And economics are very good to know. We have a fair amount of economics in the program because economics is driving, what wind projects will actually be built. The economics drive a lot.
And economics is the essential part of every project development process and every feasibility study. Looking forward to meeting everybody. We are looking forward to meet you here next semester. If you needed a Zoom call or online meeting, just message WhatsApp number or send an email to windmaster@go.uu.se.
And of course, we hope that we will meet you face to face here in end of August. Today, this morning, we woke up and there was some snow outside and very windy. The ferries were cancelled last night and this morning, but now it's all melting and it looks like the sun might come through. And spring is on its way here. We have quite a lot of spring flowers and so on. Okay, we have some.
Yes, hi, Chandan here. I'm sorry for joining late. How many of us will be studying this session? 50 to 55, as it seems. Any potential pathways and facilitations for higher studies, such as PhD after program? What could be the requirements? So the thing is, with the PhD studies, there will be announcements, and in the announcement, there will be some requirements as your background, but we have students from our program studying PhDs in our department and also in other universities.
Yes, or other parts of Uppsala University.
Yeah, so it is completely possible.
Yes.
I showed one chart that was showing that 2% of our graduates are studying PhD.
Yeah.
And it says, for internship, you have direct link with industry, or we have to manage by, no. University has direct link. You just tell university which sector or which topics you are interested in, and university will find you a company which is working on those topics. Any other question? And don't worry, we are recording the webinar. We will send the link to you so you can go through it again. I think it was Chandan who said
she was late. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for your questions and presentations and so on. And I think we close here.
Yeah, thank you all, and hope to see you all in September.